Hi teachers! Are you using decodable text in your small group reading instruction? If you're not, it's a powerful tool to help your students learn how to read, so you're definitely going to want to incorporate it in your small group or guided reading. Now, if you're already using decodable text, but maybe you're spending a little bit too much time planning or gathering materials or differentiating for your students, I also want to show you how my Phonics and Fluency lesson pages can make it really easy for you. It's already laid out for you, so you follow a lesson from beginning to end, and I'm going to show you exactly how it goes in just a second. But first, I want to tell you some key components to include in your small group reading instruction. So one component is phonemic awareness, of course. It's a great way to start your reading groups. You can play a game that we always called code words, and you can give your students the sounds in a word and have them blended. You can give your students a word and have them segment into the sounds, or you can give them a word and then switch a sound. These are all great ways to practice phonemic awareness at the start of your reading group. Then, of course, another key component is phonics. So you're going to want to introduce your focus skill of the day, and you can actually do this before your phonemic awareness activity and then use words that have that target skill in your phonemic awareness game. So, of course, you're going to want to teach that skill. You will want your students to apply it when decoding words in isolation, words in fluency phrases, and then, of course, your decodable text. Now, before you have students read the decodable story, you want to stop and go over some vocabulary. This could be story words that are not fully decodable yet. It could be high-frequency sight words that you're reviewing in the story. You might want to teach 1 or 2 new high-frequency words and then bring it all together with the decodable story. Usually, I like to have my students read the story the first time independently as I listen in. Then we'll read it together, and I'll model using expression, punctuation as a guide, and then I'll have them read it independently again. After we do the reading, of course, we want our students to know that they have to understand what they're reading, so we do a comprehension check. And finally, we wrap it up with some writing. So decoding is the reading, and we want to bring it together with the encoding or the writing. Now, writing in small groups will look different than writing instruction time in your whole group when students are writing independently. In your small group, it's more guided, and you're giving them a dictated sentence. You are counting the words in the sentence. You are watching them as they write and giving them immediate feedback on any mistakes that they're making. You're guiding them, and you're really teaching them how to write the sentence correctly using the phonics skills and the high frequency sight words that they've just learned. And of course, things like letter formation, capitals, punctuation, spacing, you're bringing it all together. So let me show you how my Phonics and Fluency lessons make it super easy for you to do, and it includes all of these components from beginning to end. Watch this. Okay, so each lesson has 2 pages, and I've marked each lesson with the focus skill here. The number 2 just means it's the second lesson for this skill. So I'm going to show you what each section looks like so you have an idea of how the lesson can flow. And at times I'm going to pretend there's a little small group in front of me so that you can see how it works. I'll also explain each section to you. So let's begin. You're going to want to review the skill that you are focusing on during this lesson. And I have added these cards so you can re-download it if you already purchased a set. And you notice that I covered the bottom grapheme with a little post-it note because we haven't gotten to that one yet. We're just focusing on the CH that says ch. Okay, children, so we're going to review the CH digraph. CH says ch, like in chin. Can you say chin? Now say ch. Look at the mirror at your mouths. What are our lips doing? What are our teeth doing? That's right. So CH says ch. Now, here's where you can incorporate some phonemic awareness with these. Let's play a game. We're going to play Find the Word. I'm going to give you the sounds to a word. I want you to blend the sounds and say the word, then find the word and highlight the digraph that says ch. Are you ready? Ch. What's the word? Much. Can you find the word much? Once they find it, they can highlight the CH. Okay, the next one is ich, rich. Find it, highlight the digraph. Okay, ch, up. What's the word? Chop. Find it, highlight the digraph until you've covered all of the words. Okay, everybody point to the first picture there. Say chat, like you're talking to one another. Chat. Let's tap out the sounds. Point to one box for each sound. Ch, a, t, chat. Now let's write those sounds in those boxes. The first sound was ch. What says ch? CH. What's the next sound? Ah. And so on, and then you can continue with the remaining pictures. And if you're not sure what any of the pictures are, the answer key will have them there for you. Okay. Now, after the students have sounded out, tapped out, written in the sound boxes for each word, then you're going to have them read one word at a time and rewrite the word on the lines. Here you're going to look out for correct letter formation, so you can prompt your students, remind them to start their letters at the top. Okay, the first letter is a C. Where do we start the C? And if your phonics program has any kind of letter chant or prompts to remind them how to form the letters, you can remind them of that as you do this activity. All right, everybody point to the bottom. Let's read these fluency phrases. Now for this part, I like to use some kind of manipulative just to make it fun. You don't have to, but if you have little mini erasers, they can drag it across the arrow. If you have the little witch fingers or those little eyeball rings, they love using those as well. My favorite are these little transparent chips because you can still see the text when they glide them over. All right, everybody, let's read. Let's blend to read each word carefully. Ch, ad, chad, and ich. Now, the first time that we read something, we might sound like a robot, so let's practice rereading it, and we're going to say it smoother and smoother each time. Are you ready? Chad and rich. When you sound smoother, chad and rich, chad and rich. And you keep doing that for the other fluency phrases. All right, turn the page. Let's go over some high frequency words. So this looks different depending on the lesson. Some lessons will introduce new words like this one, and some lessons will not introduce any new words, but will review words that you've already covered. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Here you're going to review 2 words that you've already learned before, and you're going to teach your students 2 new words. All right, children, let's look at the words that we've learned before. What's that first word? Said. Make sure that they know what the word said is. You can use it in a sentence. All right, let's color code the word said. Each sound gets a new color. The first sound is S. What letter represents that S sound? That's the S. The next sound is Eh. Now remember, that's the tricky part in said. Even though it sounds like an E, it's AI that's making that Eh sound in said. And the last sound is D. There you go. Repeat that with the word me. Now we're going to learn 2 new words. The first word is some. Let's have some fun. Again, make sure that they understand the meaning of the word. Then you can have them tap out the word S, That's only 3 sounds, but that word has 4 letters. So let's make sure that we know which sounds are representing which letters are representing each sound. The first sound is S. That's the letter S. The next sound is That's the tricky part, because is usually the letter U, but in the word some, it's an O. So you can also have them put a little heart above that O. Let's put a little heart above that O to help us remember that we have to remember that part by heart. We haven't yet learned the phonics skills to help us decode this word, so we have to remember some words by heart. The next sound is represented by M. And then we have that little silent E. We don't hear it, but we have to remember that it's there. So let's write that in a line, because it doesn't get its own box. And let's put the little heart over the E to remind us that we have to remember that by heart. Okay, if that word says some, what do you think this one says? Come. So it just has a different letter at the beginning. And again, you're going to map out that word, making sure that they understand what the word means and each sound is represented. Now it's time to put it all together in your decodable text. So here you can have students highlight the words that have the CH skill, the phonics skill. You can have them highlight the sight words that they've learned, the new sight words, and then you can have them practice reading it 3 times. Each read, they get to color in a little fluency star. You might want to read the first time together, or I like to have them read the first time on their own as I check in. The second time we read it together, and then they read it once more on their own or with a partner. And of course, we want to make sure that they are monitoring comprehension, so we have some comprehension activities and questions here. This also can vary depending on the lesson, but in this example, they're going to color the picture that matches the story here. and they're going to color in the bubble to complete the sentence correctly here. All right, now we are coming to the last part of our lesson, which is a sentence dictation. And here we are going to give our students a sentence. They're going to repeat the sentence a few times, and then they're going to practice writing it. Now, in the answer key, like I said, you have the answers to those pictures in case you're not sure what a picture is. Excuse me. And then I have given you 2 suggested sentences. So as you can see, one is a simple sentence and one is longer, and it also incorporates those sight words in there. So let's do this one for now. Chad hits his chin. Repeat after me. Chad hits his chin. Let's do it in a monster voice. Chad hits his chin. Let's do it in a little Mickey Mouse voice. Chad hits his chin. Let's sing it. So the point is to repeat it enough times so that they remember the entire sentence. Okay, now it's your turn. You're going to write the sentence on your page. Here's where you're going to remind them to start with a capital, use spacing, etc. So what are we going to begin our sentence with? Capital letter. Chad. If they're making any mistakes, you can stop and guide them along the way. Remember to leave a finger space. Now let's say a student writes Chad hits and they forgot which word comes next. Say, can you go back and read the beginning of the sentence that you have? Read what you have down so far and see if you can remember what the next word is. So have them go back, Chad hits, and if they still can't remember, tell them the entire sentence, have them repeat it again, and then go back and read to see what comes next. We want them to practice this skill because when they're writing independently, they'll be better prepared to do so without having to rely on you to give them one word at a time. Chad hits, next word is his, and finally chin. Always have them practice rereading when they're done. And what do we need at the end? We need a punctuation mark, in this case a period. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what these lessons are like. Like I said, some of the lessons have a variation. For example, in this lesson, for this part here, they're going to highlight the box that changes. So let me show you what that means. All right, everybody say math, math. Let's tap out the sounds. Math, math. Write in the letters. Math. Now let's say path. Math, path. P-ath. Where do you hear a different sound? At the beginning, middle, or end? We hear a different sound at the beginning of math. Let's highlight that box. Now you can highlight this box or this box over here, whichever is easier. It doesn't really matter. All right, we're not going to have an M to make the word path. The M is going to change into, that's right, a P. And we still have a. Now let's start with math again. This time we're going to change math to make it say moth. Aw. Where do we hear a different sound? Here. We hear the different sound in the middle, so that A is going to become ah. Okay, the rest you do just as I showed you before. Now, in this lesson, you're not introducing any new sight words. You are going to review ones that you've already covered before. So you can do that by reading the word and color coding the sounds as well. This is good. Make sure they understand what the word means. The first sound is G, the next sound is U, and that is represented with O, and the last sound is D. Again, read the decodable text 3 times, answer the questions, and do the sentence dictation. One more different version of the reading comprehension. In this section here, they're going to read the sentences and then write 1, 2, or 3 in the boxes to sequence the events for the story. Another thing you'll see often is this little thinking bubble, and that's a little conversation piece. So it's sometimes you might ask them to make a connection, to make an inference or a prediction. It's just a little comprehension discussion for you to have with your group. You might have noticed that the high frequency sight words go together here, so I tried when I could to have the words that have similarities to introduce them together, like buy and fly, some and come, out, shout, more, before. It's not always the case for all the lessons, but when I could, I did include words that have similarities there just to make it a little bit easier for students to remember. All right, what I love about these is that after you introduce After you do each lesson, you can then add these little fluency story cards to their word rings or their task card boxes, wherever they're keeping them. And these have the decodable stories. This is different, so this one is for the digraph SH. They have the decodable stories so that students can practice reading it independently. So as you can see, there's also a little word bank here. The first row has decodable words with the skill, and the second row has the high frequency words that are in that current story. You also might have noticed these little sight word cards, so they come in black and also color coded for sound with the little hearts there as well. And these fluency drill pages are perfect for a center, or you can use them for progress monitoring or a quick assessment. So here the students can practice just reading the words. I like to give them sand timers and two colored either crayons if you're just printing on regular paper, or if you laminate these, you can use dry erase markers. So they can use a little sand timer. When the time runs out, they can circle the last word that they were able to read, and then flip it and try to beat their score and mark that last word with a different color. All right, so I hope that gave you a little peek into what these lessons are like. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me, Brenda@brendatejeda.com. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching.